sipping that moonshine and I'm plastered.
Everyone, welcome back to the Moonlighters Club podcast/video. We have another guest.
Hello.
And we're happy to be here. I'll let you introduce yourself. I know you as Deborah, but I don't know if you have a certain way that you want to introduce yourself. Like an actual little thing you say.
Well, thanks. I actually say, hi, my name is Deborah. So, hi, my name is Deborah.
All right. I guess I could have done that too. But Deborah, thank you for joining us.
No, thank you.
Actually, I don't know if it's supposed to be anonymous, but I met you at a very positive event, Black Wall Street Collective here in Boston. You'll know more about it soon. It's a bunch of very talented young Black individuals in the city doing big things. Before we actually get started, let's actually talk about this. Let's just plug this real quick because we're going to do it again, but I think we should start with it.
Awesome. So this is the 30-Day Speak Life Challenge. It's my first book, and it is my baby. I don't have children, and so this is my thing that I gave life to. And I share in a series of 30 days how I overcame depression and anxiety by learning to partner with my words. And my organization is called Use Your Words, and it's all about restoring the art of communication. And so, with this book, it's the challenge is that every day for 60 seconds to 5-10 minutes, that you stop and give yourself a moment to assess the way you're thinking about what you're going to be saying about yourself throughout the day and as you travel throughout your space and your world. And so, that's the book.
That's good. I respect that. Yeah, that was thorough. Very thorough. Yeah, I struggle with anxiety too.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah, I just drink beer.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? So a lot of people, there's a lot of coping mechanisms, and I think in our society though, technology, we're always on notifications. There's so many deadlines, and everybody's going. And I think anxiety is something that a lot of people don't talk about and don't deal with. I think we're talking about it more. I see that, but I don't have a lot of outside coping mechanisms, but mine has been the words, like understanding that, I need to focus on my words and making sure that they are positive and that they're lining up. Yeah, so
that's
speak life.
That's
life.
It is. I feel like most of the time I'm anxious or depressed. Well, except for people who just chemically are like that. It's really
that's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other piece.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just thinking too much. I feel like people that I know that are really intelligent or really gifted at something, their mind's always working.
Exactly.
And that's why those are the ones who are always having just crazy thoughts because they just think of scenarios. And it tends to be work, really, right? So these are scenarios that'll help me get by here. But then it's also just random life scenarios that are never going to happen. Like me, like these crazy situations that you hear about happening to someone else. So you freak out. And it's like, if you just don't think about any of that random shit.
Exactly.
You're just going to have a good day today.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's what's up. Yeah. So let's get started. Let's just go college. Where'd you go to college?
I went to the University of Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Okay.
So I'm originally from Mississippi. And so, Golden Eagles.
Do you have is it your accent like normal Mississippi accent?
No, it's not. It's funny. People, when I'm in Mississippi, people ask me where I'm from. I'm like down the street. Anywhere I go, people are always, no one can ever figure out where my accent. I don't really know. I think if I start talking fast and if I get upset or angry or happy and excited, sometimes some country comes out.
What's Mississippi really like? Because growing up, my grandmother's from Darlington, South Carolina.
Okay.
And my dad's from Alabama. Raymer, right by Montgomery.
Okay.
And so I have an idea. I've been to the South a bunch of times, but for some reason Mississippi has this reputation. I don't know if it's because of George Wallace, but it's like the most racist of racists.
But I'm just saying,
and also Southern of Southerns. You know what I mean?
But see, Mississippi gets a bad rap. I love Mississippi. It's the place that I grew up there. It's my home, first of all. So it does get a terrible rap,
right?
Because I've lived in LA. We'll talk about that more. But I've been in all different spaces, and people always are like, "Oh my God, Mississippi." I'm like, "Well, Mississippi burning." It's always these bad connotations around it or whatever. But Mississippi is literally a place that I write about it in my new book that I'm working on. That is a place that it's so much love there, but it gets clouded by the traditions of what people are used to. But the beauty of Mississippi is that it's ingrained, so it's almost like you don't even know that it exists because people are nice. You forget, right? Yeah. And so, but I've experienced my racism actually in other spaces that I've lived in LA, in New York. I've experienced because y'all are more segregated. I was just having this conversation with my friends. In Mississippi is people are together. I think in other places, sorry that clap.
No, you're good.
I think in other places though that it's y'all are more like, I just went to like the Black graduation and things like all these different like y'all. I mean, y'all say like, oh, it's celebratory, like, oh, we're celebrating this culture, but like in the South, it would be, oh, this is segregation, you know. But it's a place that, I mean, it's lovely. I love it. It's a peaceful place for me. I'm from the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, so even in Mississippi, like people are like, "Oh, well, you're from the coast. You don't count." Like, because the coast is where the casinos are, and it's the touristy spot.
Okay.
Yeah, Biloxi, Mississippi, in that area.
Oh, Biloxi.
So,
Yeah.
So that's like that part, but it's so serene, so peaceful. But I mean, you know.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean,
it exists everywhere.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
People are nicer in the South. I feel like people up here, because it comes out, it's not even just like race, just like, interacting with people. It's way more pleasant in the South.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's much better. Like, people don't. I just got back from Alabama to visit my dad, and it was just chill. Like, people saying, excuse me, yes, sir, no, ma'am. And then coming up here, I held the door for someone, and they didn't even say anything. I was so angry. I was so mad. I was like, just say something.
Yeah, but you got to get home before the street lights. So.
Yeah. I digress. Let's.
Okay.
I asked about college, or brought it up to ask about what you major in, and when you were majoring, were you clear that what I'm doing, I feel like I want to do for like 5 years, 10 years?
Absolutely not. I majored in business administration.
Okay.
I had a minor in dance, and my emphasis my first 3 years of college was finance. So I was, you know, doing that, knocking it out. And then when I got to the core of all the finance classes, I barely passed. I think you had to have like a C or something to move on to the next level. And I did a flip in the house. I remember when the grades came in, and I was like, my mom was like, "Oh, you made an A?" I was like, "No, I made a C." Like, I like got out of here. Like, and that when I got back to school that semester, the next semester, I went to the advisor and I was like, "What is the easiest way for me to graduate? Because I'm not going to graduate with this degree." And so I ended up with a tourism and hospitality degree.
Okay.
Shout out to all of the hospitality majors out there. But I put no real. Well, actually, I think I changed it. I was like marketing for like a week, accounting. I was like going back and forth, and then I ended up in tourism and hospitality, which, I mean, it's great for me. But yeah, I didn't put a lot of thought into that. But that is like a really defining moment for me. And when I go back into my story, like I really wish that my advisor had to push back a lot to make that a, like, you know, really focus on what you're doing. But yeah, I definitely did not think about my future in that. Like I didn't necessarily know how. I was the first generation college student, so that I think played a role in it as well. It's a funny story about even how I became a finance major. Like I was like, oh, I want to be a bank teller. Like somebody should have said, like, no, that's not what you aspired to go to college for. So like, you know, like so yeah. So I think that's it.
Yeah. So you graduate,
right?
And what's that like?
Oh my
God. Or is it a massive letdown when you get out? Like what is?
Absolutely, like. College for me, I was a good student, right? So I like had all these different awards and different. I even was able to represent my school as like Miss Southern Miss, and so like it was like all these great things. And then I get to life, and I'm like, what is this? Like, this isn't what I want. And I didn't necessarily know what I wanted, but I knew it wasn't what I was experiencing. You know, it took 6 months for me to find a job. I think I was waitressing, and every day I went to work, it was like. I just felt like a failure every single day. And
where were you waitressing at?
I was what was it? Century City Grill, which was like a really like uppity place for Hattiesburg.
Really?
So it was like one of the
like it.
No. It was like, was it Century City? I don't know. Century City is what I worked in LA. I forgot the name of that place. Something Grill. Anyway, but whatever it was, I know that there was like an experience there where the lady who was chopping the salad in the back, like she was like, there was like a salad station. And I went one day because I'm always speaking and I'm like, I love people. So everybody loved me. So I was talking to this little lady. She was like, I see you working hard. You just keep working hard. You'll be able to come back here and make $11 with me in the salad place. And I went to the bathroom and bawled my eyes out. And that's when I was like, life can't be this. Like, and, you know, like, this is not why I went to college. This is not, and no shade to anybody who's doing that. You know, like, great. Like, that is good, hard work. But I just felt like the dreams I had for myself did not mean that I was going to be working to be a salad chopper. And so, yeah, I think that's probably where things started changing for me internally, thinking more like bigger than what society had prepared me for, like 9 to 5. So I think that was probably, if I go back, that was probably in that time where it's like something is gotta give.
So you were talking about LA. Did you leave that job and then move out of Mississippi?
So no, I actually took, and it's so funny, I didn't even work that job long, but it felt like 5,000 years. But when I'm like, when I go back, I think I may have worked there 8 weeks, if that. Like, but it felt like, no, no, it's terrible. I actually took a job at Verizon.
Okay.
I worked with Verizon. I was in the management program there, and I worked there for 1.5 years, and I was so happy. But I hated it. Like, it's that life, which I think for me, which we'll talk about, like entrepreneurship, like the agency over my time. That part was like, I was like, how are y'all working? It was like people were 26. I think I had just graduated, so I was really young, 22 maybe. And the managers were like 23 to 26, and they looked like old men. And I was like, why do y'all look like this? And I was like, oh, the work-life balance was off. And so, that after that job though, that's when I worked there for like 1.5 years, and then that was where it was like I pushed the limit and was like, okay, I moved to LA. I had a grandmother who lived out there. She still lives out there. She's still alive. Thank you, Lord. Like, my bad. It sounded like she didn't live there anymore. Like, she's still on Earth. But yeah, so I just packed up. I made a plan, and then I moved out to LA, and that was like my big jump into the life that I live now.
But those cell phone companies can be the worst, man. I've had friends work in the retail store and the corporate store. Like, when it comes to profits, there's nothing like it, man. That's why they're consistently getting fined by the SEC. It's pretty cutthroat.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was making a lot of money. I made a lot of money in that 1.5 years, but my mind, I was like, so it wasn't a great experience. But
so you moved. Had you been to LA before?
Yeah, once. No, twice. I went twice. I went my senior year in high school. I was actually looking for colleges out there.
Okay. Yeah.
But so it was like several times, like right after graduation in college, I was supposed to move there. It was like I kept playing with it, but at that time, I didn't necessarily have the bravery yet. I hadn't built that up to that muscle to think that I could live outside of Mississippi, or like Mississippi. The thought is, you go to school, you get married, you have kids. It's a totally different lifestyle, and so I didn't necessarily know the life that I was craving, but I just knew that it wasn't what I was experiencing. And you had the whole relational things. Guys are like, oh, trying to marry you, and I was like, I don't really want to be married right now. So it was a lot of that going on. So I had to just I felt like I ran away from Mississippi in a way. But
good.
Yeah.
I'm not good, but
Yeah, I mean, I love Mississippi. Got my heart.
So you come to LA, and so were you still working? Because what's your degree in again? Was it tourism and with the?
Yeah, that's the main. Right. So it's the business administration with the emphasis. Yeah,
with emphasis there. So you had been working at Verizon. What were you looking for when you got to LA as far as life work?
So I'm a dancer as well. So I was dancing. Well, you're always a dancer, but I'm just not dancing now. So I at that time was dancing, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna really pursue dancing and just arts. And so so I was there for like 2 months. I auditioned for my first dance company, and so I started dancing with a dance company out there, and then I was in acting school, and so I was like doing those types of things, just like really exploring the artistry part of my life that in Mississippi had not necessarily been cultivated. And so that's where the artist part started coming in. Like writing, I've been journaling my whole life, but I didn't necessarily know like, oh, they're writers, like this is a whole career, like you can do this. So that's when I started. That was LA.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like hip hop's kind of ruined dancing because every time someone's like, "Yo, I want to be a dancer," I'm like, "Oh." But like, no, it could be anything. It could be Allen Bailey. You could be doing ballet. You could do all kinds of stuff. But it's like every time my mind, where I'm going is like, oh, this is.
Well, it was funny because when I moved to LA, that had never happened to me before. So when I got to LA and I would say like, oh, I'm a dancer, they'd be like, oh, what kind of dance? I'm like. I'm like, oh, not that. Oh, not. I mean, shout out to them too. They're great, but no.
What was the experience while you were doing the creative side? Because especially in LA, I feel like it could go like there probably is a gray area, but I'm not aware of it. So it's either you do it, you're having a time in your life, you're enjoying it, you have your successes, but it's a growth period. Then I also hear about the times where it does not go the way people want it to go. Right. It's just a dark time. For you, was it a gray area, or did you like really enjoy that experience of just being able to go, like actually pursue what you really care about? Right.
No, I definitely enjoyed it because I didn't necessarily. I just wanted to go and explore that for me, but I didn't have like a dream of being any certain thing. I just knew that like something was pulling me. So I think being in that mindset played a good role, and I could see how if I had a different mindset, I could have pursued it harder. But I just embraced every opportunity that came. You know, it was like, oh, things came up with. I was with an agency, and like I got a gig working in a movie or working on some set or TV show. So those things, I just took those experiences, you know, and it was like I didn't necessarily feel like it wasn't that much pressure on me to like make anything out of it. Okay. And so if that makes sense. So, but I definitely had people I met, friends and people who were, I mean, also I lived with my grandmother at that time. So it wasn't like I was trying to make rent or things like that. So like, I think a lot of that those dark areas come because you're trying to like balance life and pursue a passion. Yeah. And so that part plays a stressful role. Yeah.
So sounds like you're just living life, chilling. Mm-hmm. Was there a switch that went off while you were doing this, while you're doing dance, where you're like, okay, I still like dance, but maybe I want to try explore something else?
Yeah, absolutely. As I began to like grow, find new friends, artist friends, people who like resembled me in so many ways. So it was like a definitely exploratory experience for me. Like I just found more out about me, and like, and I think in that was when I released my first blog out in LA, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna do this blog thing, and that was where I started just growing more and saying, okay, let me figure out how I can take more control of what I'm doing and how does it all come together. So I believe I'm not sure necessarily when the switch happened, but I know it definitely was being around so many artists and so many people who like, when we would be in the dance studio, people were like, oh, I'm going to do this audition, or oh, I'm like all these cool things that were like, oh, I was on this set and I got this movie role, or I got this. And it was just like seeing people on commercials, like I'm watching TV and I'm like, what's up? Like, I know you, like, you know, things like that. And so it made me start really exploring, like, how do I want to make an impact and like really be in this space? So, yeah.
I just wrote my first blog. It's amazing.
Hey.
No, it's not amazing. It's so long.
I know, it's hard to like...
I've tried to write multiple blogs. It was
hard.
Literally like, okay, we're working on this podcast. This is what it was like. This is where it came from. It was cool. Okay. But it took a while. Like, I'm better at talking and, like, shooting the shit. I can use my hands when I talk. Yeah. When you're sitting there, like, writing something or typing something, oh, my God, that's awful.
Yeah, well, blogging is interesting because you have to, like, make your voice translate to this so that people can read in your voice. So it's, like, it's interesting.
I write, like emails, like, and all that stuff, like a British dude from like this 1800s. I'm always like, salutations. My name is Joel Edwards. Like, I'm like literally when I'm at work, I have to like, because I don't want to like, be too Joel at this. Like, yeah, what up? It's me. Hit me back. Because that's easy. But so when I'm like trying not to do that, writing about myself, it's super hard. Right. Because I want to say, I was just chilling with Dwayne. Right. But on the blog, I'm like, I was slated to meet whatever Dwayne. Like, no, so like, I was writing that rhythm. It's like, damn. Like, I don't
Right. No, I was writing a text the other day, and my friend was in town, and I let her see it, and she was like, first of all, this is an email. Take this whole thing away. Like, I understand that. Like, I was like, hi, comma. She was like, first of all, that formatting, just send the text. I'm like, so I understand that.
So you start writing. And did it just start, like, just you writing started catching steam? You're like, oh, I just like doing this.
So then this is where the real switch happened. So I started doing that, and then I'm still doing the dance company, and then I start working part-time. So I've worked part-time. I guess I should say I've only worked full-time probably 2 years in my adult life. Other than that, I've been more like part-time here and there, whatever. And so during that time, it was during the... I can't remember which one of the police brutality cases, right? And so I can't remember if it was Mike Brown. It was one of them.
That was what was it? 4
August?
Years ago?
No, it was something like 5 years, but it was around August because that's when Use Your Words launched. And so for me, that's when it started. I was like trying to figure out what role do I play in this? It's crazy. I have been reading and studying Dr. King for like a year and just reading all of his works and just really just like trying to understand how they thought back then and then because I started seeing things happen, I had my own experience with the police, and where I was in handcuffs, and like it was like, whoa, whoa. The guy was like, "Why are you crying? Like you know, like you act like you've never been in handcuffs before." And I'm like, "No, I haven't."
Most people haven't.
I haven't. Actually, I haven't. It's funny. I'm like, "Where's my grandma? Can I call my grandma?" And they were like, "No."
I was in LA.
Yeah, it was terrible. Which I mean, that was my first like real racial experience, and I'm like, oh, like yeah. So like, I had that experience, and so I think that for me was like the switch of like, okay, how does my artistry and my heart for advocacy start coming together? And so that's where Use Your Words came from. And then once I did Use Your Words, I started with just doing like a weekly prayer call, right? And so I was like, okay, I just did it with my friends, and then I like grew into this thing that was happening nationwide. And so like every Wednesday it was like, okay, I was like purpose call. And so like it was just like something to be motivating and to uplift and to really inspire people to think larger than just their lives, but like how can we impact the society that we see forming around us? And so that is when I did that for a year, and then I started blogging, and then I had contributors, like 10 contributors on the blog, and I was like, whoa, what does this turn into? And then I started doing videos and people like one-on-ones with people, and like almost like life coaching in a way. And so that's how things started taking like the momentum that came from everything. And so then I went with the book. It was like people were looking, it was more like people-centered, like people, how can I impact people to go out into society? If that makes sense. So, yeah.
Nice. Contributors, that must be nice. That's exactly what I'm looking for now, because I don't like to write. So
contributors, yeah. I know. It was a lot. I was like, I wasn't prepared for that.
So this starts to grow.
Okay,
So like, can you, let's just have you describe Use Your Words. So what's the purpose behind it, the vision behind it, the description?
So the Use Your Words exists to restore the art of communication. And one of the things that the main goal is to help build relationships, connect humans back to human interaction. So I really started seeing how through technology, we're actually becoming more disconnected. Even though we're all connected socially, we're like disconnected from how to have a conversation, how to grow in relationship. And so for me, like my experience with the police, it was like, I'm trying to talk to you and you're being forceful with me, and I'm talking like there's no weapons here, like and I'm in handcuffs, and it's like a gun has been pulled, and I'm like, and I just like use your words. So what I see Use Your Words as is the solution to a lot of the discord that personally, on a personal level, relationally, and then also societally. So that's what it is.
Okay, so is it more of, what's the primary product? Is it you producing content, other people producing content, in a place where people can read it and kind of get inspired from it? Or do you also contact people and say, okay, you guys suck at talking, you guys suck at doing this, let me help you?
Yeah, all of that. So there's the arms, there's different arms and branches of it. And so the main gist is that it's me, like a community of people coming to practice using their words, practice talking. So it's like creating platforms for your voice to be heard. So that's where the blog comes in, and that's where the calls come, because people actually had time to talk, and they had like, if there was a certain topic, people can talk about whatever those topics are, or whatever. So it's fostering a community in a space where people have the opportunity to use their words, and to think about the words that they're not using and why they're not using those words and how that can impact their world.
That's what's up. So can you let's break down an example case of a scenario where that like how that is good, where you came in and did that and you left and people are like, oh my God, this was like...
Yeah. So the most recent example, I went into, because I do it corporately, and it's like, words are everywhere. And so the message translates into any environment. And so recently I went into a corporate, like high-level recruiting training. All these people looking for jobs, basically. They were unemployed, but they call it like high-level recruits or whatever. And so...
they were just unemployed.
No, unemployed. When I got here, like 10 minutes before, the lady was talking to me, and she was like, oh yeah, everybody's unemployed. I was like, oh, this is an unemployment workshop? Oh, okay. I know how to talk about this.
They rewarded that. It's a high-level recruit. I just don't have jobs. It's okay.
It's okay. You broke. It's good. It's good. You stressed out. I feel you. It totally changed my dynamics, like how I prepared. I was like, literally, I threw everything out the window. I was like, Oh, they're all unemployed? Cool. So I went in and we had conversations. And so I actually start off with the hi, my name is Deborah is very intentional. And that's the first step of how when you use your words to the world. So you're like, the way you introduce yourself matters. And so, we talk about that. And then we started, that conversation went to, how are you using your words about your situation? And so the exercise that I went through that was really impactful was, okay, tell me, like, just list words, like they had to write it down and then I wrote it on the board, different things that they, like, how do you feel about your unemployment status? How do you feel about yourself? Like, so I asked like these very series of questions. And so I wrote down all of the words that they said about themselves. So then the next exercise is, okay, these same questions, but about the person, like I assigned a person to each person, like across the room or whatever. And all the words that they said about these other people and the same exact situation, it was so encouraging and so uplifting. I know they're better than this, and like, I know something will come for them, versus the things that they were saying about themselves were like, I suck, I'm a failure, I should be farther than this, or like, and it was just a totally different list. And like, this one guy walked up to me at the end with tears in his eyes, and I was like, oh. It was like, Deborah, like, I have never just taken a moment to think about like what I'm saying to myself. And so that's really impactful, because now that changes the way you go out and address others when you are talking more kindly to yourself, and then like you begin to talk more kindly to others, and then understand that the power of your words are building something. So whether that's building this environment that is unhealthy and that makes you feel bad about yourself, or are you building environments in a world that makes you feel good and encourages you to go forward and, keep trying.
That's what's up. Okay. Yeah. So you were doing that in LA with like various like blogging, you were contributors in LA. What prompted you to move?
So that LA move, I got tired of LA. I got tired of like the falsehoods. Like, it's just so fake.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love LA. It's a second home. I probably will be moving back there at some point, but like, in that moment, it was just a lot, I think I had just grown to a space where I needed to be around something that was real. I was looking for authenticity. I was looking for trees. And so I was looking for like nature and things like that. And so I actually ended up moving to Houston. I was in Houston for a year and a half. Yeah. Houston. So that's actually where I started writing. I nannied, so I did do some I always forget about that. So I was a nanny while I was writing, and I was living a super bougie lifestyle. Like, oh yeah.
Nice, yeah. Especially because it's cheap down there too.
Yeah. So, and I was a living nanny, so it was like really great. And so, so that's in that space. I just needed like some time and space, like to kind of process what the experiences I had lived, and I had traveled out of the country and like just done things that my beginning in Mississippi hadn't prepared me for, Yeah. And so I just needed that time. And so I went to Houston for a year and a half, and then I went to New York for about a year. And that's actually where I published. And so I was like doing different things in that capacity. And so, then I traveled for a year, did a book tour, and just promoting the message of use your words. So like whether it's in schools or going into different places to just talk about the power of using your words and the importance of using your words. And so then last summer I took a job on the Cape, and that's how I ended up in Massachusetts.
See the real deal. What, a book tour? What?
Yeah, it was fun. It was stressful, but it was fun, yeah.
Nice. So now are you here? You did book tour. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you presented this to a good amount of people. You're published.
Yeah.
So what's your trajectory looking like now? Excuse me. Like, what do you have in store for Use Your Words in the near future?
That's exciting to ask. It's like I feel like I'm always planning for something, but I'm really excited about it. I actually had a very exciting opportunity this week to present the philanthropy arm of Use Your Words that I just created called We See You, We Feel You. And it's an initiative that for any book that I sell or any book or product, a resource will go to an inmate in a jail or prison. So I was able to pitch that to Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley this week. So that was really exciting.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. That project I'm working with a friend on and kicking that off. So it was inspired from Ava DuVernay's When They See Us.
Yeah, I couldn't finish that. I watched like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I found out what it was about. I'm like, I'm already angry.
It's so, it's tough. Like, and I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, I haven't even watched it yet. My friend, like, I just have to mentally prepare because I've had my own trauma around that. So, like, it actually terrifies me. But I did see this, I think Oprah tweeted or something, or somebody wrote, I think it was definitely Oprah, I just can't remember what avenue, but she said, you know, for those who are struggling with watching it and struggling with like being angry or whatever that is, like just think about the people who live this every single day and the people whose lives that it truly impacts. And so like I was trying to think about it in that vein, but it's also still like I just can't. I don't know. So I'm going to watch it though. I need to watch it. It's just scary. I feel scared.
I like what you're doing with Use Your Words. If it has personal importance to you and it serves a social importance. As far as the growing it, like what are some of the hardships you come up with when it comes to getting the word out about it, finding people that you want to coach? You know what I mean? How do you hit home with that, you know, significance? Like, because I feel like products where you're like, all right, this will help you save dollars or save your meeting time. I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to you. But then when you're like, yo, this will like make people feel better, they're like, I don't need them to feel better. You know what I mean? Like, so how do you get it? How do you get in the door at these places where you're doing conferences? Yeah.
That's actually what like the area that I'm working on, and I've been working with a sales coach because of this, because it's what I'm working to do. I've had to like actually learn what Use Your Words is. I think in a lot of ways that's why I call it a child. It's been like, you know, for my friends who have babies and whatever, you have to like watch that child grow and like get to learn its personality. Like you can't like a lot of people I see like are trying to put these personalities on their kids versus just letting their child live and see what it is. And I think that that's what's happening with Use Your Words. And because of that, like I'm like this sales coach we've been working with, understanding that I'm actually trying to shift the culture of workplaces, but like the culture of our surroundings. And so with that, like that's the selling point. It's like I'm not necessarily like I'm not trying to increase your revenue. That's going to happen when individually everyone's working better within themselves. So if you want numbers to go up, then you did need to start investing in your people in that way. So that's like the corporate message. But then like in conferences and things like that, it's more of the message of like helping people understand that the things that we're looking for are actually in our mouths. Like the things that you're actually saying are impacting the world that you are creating. And so that's where for me, and because I've lived it, so I know it's true. So it's like really, I'm really passionate about it. Like I was in therapy when my therapist said, Deborah, I was doing Use Your Words, and she was like, you are never going to change if your mouth, she was like, your mouth sucks. And I was like she was a little small white lady and she like reached across the desk. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, like I have people call me to like encourage them. Like I encourage people. She was like, yeah, but when you talk about yourself, it's bad. And so for me, that's why I'm so passionate about helping people understand the importance and the value of that. And so that's kind of the message that I'm pushing out now, because it's, and for me, it's been working so far. Like, so I think to your question, like the hardest part is me being consistent and consistent in the way I push it out, because it takes all of me to do this, right? And so it's one of the things, like when I say like I like stopped the blog, I like the site now is down. I'm working on it to redevelop and rebrand. Working on all of that. I'm excited about it. But like the hardest part, like when I stopped for I think like a year, it was because I got overwhelmed with not understanding the importance of it. I just felt like I was doing things, but now I understand like why it's needed. And especially when I think about the political ways, the ways I want to like impact politically is like, it feels like living in a divorced home in America right now. You know what I mean? Like everybody's arguing, everybody's like, is not healthy for us as citizens, and it's definitely not healthy for the next generation. So it's like, if I can help to impact the leadership on the importance of your words and how you're using them, and how that message portrays, like, so I hope I'm answering your question.
No, you are. I'm glad that you brought it there. Like it is the reasoning behind it. Like it's an interesting point you take on America. I think America's like a shitty marriage that was shitty when it started, but you're like, we may as well stay together. We got kids, and now you're like 30 years later, like, I never fucking liked you. Like, so you're like, either we gotta go. I don't know. We may have to split up.
Something needs to happen, like, because when you think about it, like, I think about life generationally. So I'm like, we have a whole generation of like generations who like think that this is normal. Like, you think that this is like the way life is supposed to be, and that's not true. Life is supposed to be peaceful. Like,
you should be chilling.
Yeah, you should be chilling. Like, yeah.
It's messed up. There were times where I was watching, like, the news in America is crazy. So I was in France, and it was like, man shot at festival. And I was like, it was like, man shot 3 times. I'm like, 3 times? That's it? It's like, that ain't nothing. And I'm like, wait a second, that's super crazy that I'm sitting here.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of things that have been normalized that shouldn't. And communication is I think the precipice for getting all that out.
Yeah.
I like how you brought up consistency. That's been my number one thing. My business life, like, I'm very manic depressive when it comes to work. Like, when I set my mind to something and just put it out there, like, I can't be stopped. And it's not me being cocky, just because I just listen to what other people say, and I see mistakes that I make. I'm like, oh, I can just fix it. Everything's like a video game to me. I just got to figure out the quirk and then go from there. But when I hit the depressive point of just like being discouraged or just getting, like, my number one thing that screws me up is either getting a lot of tasks all at the one time, too many things at once, and it could be good or bad.
Exactly.
Or getting that one pain in the ass thing that you got to do and then canceling it. Like, the coolest thing that happened to me was meeting my friend Dwayne, who I met a while back. You can't see him, you will.
Hi, Dwayne.
And I remember, like, having a showcase, and people were like, yo, this is good, man. Like, they got to see the podcast live. Like, you should do this, you should do that. It was like 8 things, and I'm just like, shut down. And then, I remember meeting Dwayne, and we're like, yo, we should hit up these 2 things. And then doing them, and then seeing progress on those things that we keyed out, it's like, cool.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, like, you have to, no matter what you're doing, whether it's content-based, whether it's product-based, you have to be consistent. You went into any business, and it was not the same as it was the last time you did. People are just, it's just not gonna last.
Yeah.
Like, even the things you don't like the post office is consistently shitty, but you know what you're getting. Like, you know how to plan around it.
No matter what state, no matter what city, it's all the same.
You know how to get there. But if you went there one day and it was the best experience of your life, and you went there the next day and it took you 5 hours to do something that was very simple the time before, you're like, why should I even deal with this ever? And I feel like everyone's small business and entrepreneurial pursuit is the same. Just do whatever you do all the time. That is the only way you'll get to the end, whether it's a good ending or a bad ending.
Exactly.
Keep doing it, like, or else you'll never know.
Yeah, that's so important. It's yes, 100%. Because, man, that's true.
I use my words.
You did. Good job. Good job.
There we go. So I'm glad you found it. I do see a ton of potential with this. I feel like it could go. It's one of those just malleable products that can go anywhere.
Yeah.
So you got the political thing. What if you could just list one goal for the next year? What would it be? That's tangible enough for you. One big thing.
Oh, that's my actual. I work with a business coach as well. I have all these coaches, and that's my homework for this week. But this is one of those things. It's like the thing that scares you, right? So I'm like, but it's to create my my conference. So
nice, okay.
So
all
that's what I'm working on, is so that I have the use your words thing, and like making it the thing that I push out, and so. Yeah, that I mean, it's very possible. It's just, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna hold you to it.
I know, right? I said it out loud.
Now you gotta do it. So
Yeah.
now that with that said, we had something tangible. How can people support you? Where can they reach out to you? Where can they find more of you? Book you, all that stuff. You can blur out now.
Got it.
We can share it.
So my website is www.deborahquave.com. That's where you can contact me. You can purchase the book. And there's also a link to chat with me if you want to have conversations. That's where the support, definitely go on the website, check me out, and then share. Like, anyone who, I get a lot of people who are like, my son, this is really great for my son, who's really dealing with anxiety or dealing with depression, or just like having conversations. So, really building the community. That's one of the things that I'm really working on, to build a space where people come to understand, like, learn how to communicate, but then also empowered to go and reproduce these types of conversations. So.
Nice. Well, I hope we'll do whatever we can to get that conference going. I think that'd be actually like an awesome idea.
Yeah.
Like you can even have it started out small, have a couple of speakers come out. I think that'd be super sick.
Yeah.
I think this was super cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And for you out there, please buy the book.
Yeah.
Buy it.
Buy the book.
And also, moonlightersclub.com is where you can find everything for us. We're on like every podcast thing. So yeah, wherever there's podcasts, you'll find us. But in the website, we just redid it.
Oh, great.
To forever, but it's out there. We'll keep getting more content out to you, and we'll have a couple showcases coming up. Hopefully Deborah can join us.
Yeah, let me know.
Rock the mic on the stage and share your story. I think it'd be super cool.
Cool.
So for all of you who tuned in, thank you. Please check our website for more information on the moonlightersclub.com, and we hope to see you soon. Peace.
Bye.